it's kind of an artistic principle that anything that you want to do in an art form or in music or a different kind of music, you have to start from the inside. So 从里面开始，要么是从自己内心开始，要么是在，要么 but from the point of view of, let's say, you invite me to your tradition, you invite me to your house. I am a guest. I respect your house. I try and follow, but you show me, oh, this is where I live, this is why I live this way, this is why I care about living in this way. I say, oh, really? Let me try that. And there's so many different traditions in the Silk Road for thousands of years. And to learn that, you have different people who have different houses. I take you here, and by doing this over and over again, suddenly we all feel we have many houses, you know? Yeah. And I say, oh, I remember the last time I came to your house, we tried this. Yes, and today you're going to show me something else, right? Good. So it's a process of learning and growth and meeting at certain edges that makes you, after we get together, we each go back to our original house and think, gee, he showed me this beautiful painting, and maybe I can see something on my wall because maybe I can live differently. You do great calligraphy. Maybe I should think about calligraphy more, and so maybe I can think about, oh, you respect that tradition, you know, maybe you can't put your feet up this way because that's really not a good thing, so maybe I'm more careful. Suddenly I'm more sensitive to everything that's around me because you invited me to your house. And so we change individually, we change as a group, and I think we feel that we belong more, we're more human. We feel like we're more complete human beings. And I think culturally it's very hard to catch up to the technological changes that have happened in the last 30 years. You know, many fields have changed so much. And in medicine, you kind of, like, you can only teach medical students how to learn because every 5 years it's going to be completely different. So, but in culture, I think there's always a tension between old and new. It can be a healthy tension. It could be a creative tension. I think old and new don't always like to live in the same house, right? So, but if you really find a way for old and new to live in the same house, then something new can come out that doesn't reject really either one. And I think that's where culture becomes really interesting. I don't think there's any tradition that exists in the world, 传统, that is not the result of successful invention. Every tradition is actually invented. 所有传统是创造的. So for me, like for example, people were saying, you know, the person from Air China says, you know, each country really needs to learn a lot more about the other, but I think each country should also probably learn more about itself, because the more we look into any tradition, you actually, my experience, our experience is that we actually find within each tradition, the deeper you go, you actually find elements of the whole world in it. And that's the secret. So it's no longer a local geography, but you go 越来越深刻的去挖去找，反而所有的传统都是有世界性。
But at the same time, it stimulates your imagination
Absolutely.
and creativity.
Absolutely. And the fear I think that people have is losing the identity. Right. Says, okay, so the usual fear of something like, McDonald's taking over the world says, wait a minute, what's going to happen to what's outside the Shifa? I don't want to go to McDonald's. But I think the fear, you can have economic domination, but I think that if cultures don't, I think if cultures evolve, then look at the whole world, you always remain a very individual culture. So knowledge does not make people sort of, I think people are afraid of being swallowed up and losing their identity.
The fear is not there. You should be.
I think I think we have to fight that fear, because as soon as you're afraid, we become this way. And I think you can look at, easily European Union or the different states in the United States as, the federal government is taking over, we're losing our identity. And but actually, no, I think there's finding that balance is really important.
So your project, like Silk Road, is a combination of all these cultures.
Yes.
And the traditions, but you also create new forms of communications.
Hopefully.
Across nations and cross countries, cross cultures.
Hopefully, yes.
That's what you mean.
Yes, and I think
creation.
I think so. I think it's it's like, I think in some ways it tries to respond to present day needs. 60 years ago, maybe there was no need because everybody thought the world was actually 60 years ago it was very dynamic. But I think, but today, because of the technological changes, we really need to have better ways of understanding so that the work is good. One of my models is Tangchao Xi'an, right? Zhang'an.
Have I been there?
Yes.
Many times?
Just once. I'm going to go in March again.
Starting point of
exactly.
Road, yeah.
Well, or you can say starting point, but also you could also say, if you look at like Buddhism that came from India to all the way to China, then to Japan, to Korea, to whatever. So it's kind of and so I think there's, in a way, once you start looking, it doesn't stop, because influences just, you see more and more the connections through the layers of time.
When did you first learn the word Silk Road? Is that when you start your project, or before that?
I think from two points. I went to in the 80s, I started I came to China, went to Japan a lot, and I think going to Nara, 看到在 Nara 就是佛教头一次到 Nara 的时候，那里的博物馆有个琵琶，这个琵琶呢有5条弦。今天的琵琶，所有的琵琶只有4条弦。那我说就是世界上就是唯一。Okay, give me another 3 minutes. 所以另外呢，有一个琵琶有5条弦呢，是在敦煌的这个表在 in the caves of Dunhuang. So basically, there's the painting, there's the actual 5-stringed. So you're saying, how did it get there? And of course, 这个佛教的时候， and then you go to archaeology. 波斯的这个以前的教是 Zoroastrian, so 的庙 Zoroastrian 的庙跟佛教的庙，他们去挖的时候呢，看到两个是 they were constructed often right on top of the other. So new religion comes over old religion and it moves. And I think the other point was going to Jordan to go to. I met. I went to Petra, and then Queen Noor asked me to give a master class in Amman, and I went there and heard two not such technically gifted musicians, but in their heads, when you ask them why music, so poetic, more poetic than any student in a conservatory that I've ever met, but with not the technique. In the conservatory, huge technique, but you say, why do you do this? It says, what is this about? The poetry is not there. So I thought, this is incredible, because, so here's the same music, not even the traditional music, but here's music that people someplace else have such a deep sense of a 深刻的了解. And I thought, wow. Then I started imagining, what would happen if we could find out talented people from everywhere. Right. So, and that's,
Okay, just a few words. How do you enjoy all the Chinese musicians involving in your?
Oh, fantastic! I'm so excited to meet Cang Lide, and because this is Orville and Beifang's friend, and I know he's great. Qing is like the king of instruments, and Wu Tong is a good friend of mine, and Zhao Zhiping Lao Shi, we're going to play one of his pieces. So it's just a lot of wonderful old friends and new friends mixing together. So that's and I'm also going to meet some wonderful students from the Beijing Conservatory. They're also going to join in, so we'll have fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, really.